Guys, what we do here is we cure the human conditioning that everybody in the world is suffering from to one degree or another. Our body cells and corruption, corrosion, illusion during the daytime and can only repair at night time. Some people can repair 24 hours a day without mental disorders and without gene defects. We found the last human beings born on earth that can do every single thing that Christ can, and every apostle in that family tree, DNA, the book of life. The Bible's about DNA. It's not about religious political behavior or New Age cults. And Plato wrote 15 books about this, those that knows how to stick their head out the cave and go through the ladder, every rabbit hole. Okay, to take the red pill, you can't go back. In the Matrix documentary, take the red pill, you won't go back. Take the blue pill, you'll never know. Now, we're trapped in mentality, in a personality, and we have amnesia. And we get trapped in the reincarnation trap and keep coming back without realizing it. And that's the truth. Christ was teaching us about this. At 24, he woke up and said he's son of David, son of Abraham, with a genetic memory and an ancestor tools that's coded in our DNA. DNA is declared the book of life. We know people can use these tools, and we know how. With the biggest study ever done with top scientists and professors in the world, the leading biologist Jeremy Griffiths and 16,000 top scholars in the world, the biggest merger in human history, hails his book Freedom to be the Holy Grail of life. And we're not breathing the holy breath of life is won a Nobel Prize without a credential to recreate the sacred secretion we conduct with. So we have an ecstasy feeling constantly, high as a kite. We live in our mind and suffer mental disorders and DDX going through the roof with stress, fear, anxiety, confusion, frustration, delusion, and paranoia. And we live in a comfort zone, a rabbit hole. And we may change that rabbit hole and that comfort zone quite often. We might move to different levels and feel more comfortable in another level. But to stick your head through the light tunnel is something people don't understand in the mind because the mind doesn't understand. And that's why we cross you over through a 40-day fast like Christ went through in the desert. Don't eat for 40 days. Take zinc, iron, magnesium. Okay, drink lots of liquid, isolate, get off screens, mind your own business, keep to yourself, and don't eat for 40 days and stop all your selections. You go to an inflection point where you get taken out of the shell through a light at the inner tunnel. When you do, we're not breathing program with deep, deep oxygen and deep breathing, and do this every single day. This will recreate the sacred secretion. It oxidizes your blood. Okay, it reactivates your biological genes in your central nervous system and resets that biological clock. It also starts to react to molecules of mentality and 130 nucleoside molecules with genetic memory, genetic repair kit. And when you go deep into the oxygen, we call it the holy breath of life for a reason. We only breathe 28 to 32% of the oxygen we're supposed to breathe because we become stupid and dormant without even realizing it. IQ only makes you good at what you do, but in fact not intelligent. The voices in our mind is only a personality. And when we think critically and the voice tells us do it and don't do it, they're just personalities. And most people live in their mind so much that also causes mental disorders and defects. Consciousness is only a mental process, an illusion of imagination. And the conscious is not aware of the outside influence on our reality. So therefore we can only 7 to 15% of our brain. Now we can master our mind and use 100% by thinking outside the mind, like we show you in the movie Limitless with a drug. That drug I developed in Australia that brought people back in their primal state and caused the biggest mental health research and DNA study ever done in human history. Red manna, they call the Bible, from a plant called mayam. The most powerful enlightenment drug, true serum, and also the most powerful love drug that gives you the high. MDMA is made in such a way that you create the same chemical in your own biological genes. Do you know that? With a meth effect, to be alert, alive, aware, aware, you create those molecules yourself in the sacred secretion with DMT, high as a kite. Real, genuine, compassionate love and unconditional love has the quantum mechanics of a relationship. Loyalty, honor, respect, moments, inspiration, encouragement. They are intuitive, codependent power. Those EMP pulses goes into 27 biofields. We have 32 senses. We live in 5 sense mentality with a high IQ that only makes us good at what we do in our mind. Our mind's only a mathematical beauty to work things out with. It's only IQ based on 98% memory. It's a memory box. So we program with everything in our mind. And when we think critically, okay, we think with our mind, with reasoning. And reasoning is only 5 sense in negative fields where we try to come to our own conclusion with reasoning. And the voice of the mind becomes personality that just tells you do it, don't do it, and give you 5 reasons why you should and why you shouldn't. But at the end of the day, they're only personalities. When you only believe in your own truth, you only believe what you're programmed into believing. But you don't know in real life with true life experience, wisdom and knowledge. Patience is a virtue. Never believe nothing you hear from anybody. Only believe half of what you see. But you can always trust what you feel with your instincts to think instinctively and think outside the mind. As they say in the documentary, the Matrix documentary, those who think instinctively tune that program because they follow their feelings. Bruce Lee could mastermind by 24 and 5, 12 year back with karate, blindfolded, block every punch, 7 times buzzing a thing. Because with deja vu and the 6th sense blindfolded, you can feel the truth so powerful. You have remote viewing and also deja vu to predict what's coming. So you can respond 7 times faster. We show that with kids on YouTube, third-eyed children, superhuman. You're perfect from 0 to 7 with your aura clockwise, and a child masterminds a computer game between 3 and 7 and uses an outside influence with a vortex of information that calls 7-fold wisdom knowledge. You see that in the movie Limitless. When he takes a drug, he gets a clarification. You see him separate and look back at himself. All of a sudden, there's 2 of him. And then he looks back at himself because he separates. Now he's in his primordial state. Now he can master his mind, his own business brain. Now he's connected to a universal language. That's sticking your head through the light in tunnel, as Plato describes sticking your head in the cave, which Plato, the greatest philosopher of all time, he couldn't work it out, but he wrote 15 books about people that could do this, master their mind in such a way that divine power to command nature in their own biological system, and they could predict the future and prevent what's going to happen with deja vu, remote viewing, mental telepathy, ESP, telekinesis, and their supernatural power because it's spirituality. And we are now trapped in a personality mentality, and we lost all these abilities, right? Our 6th sense. The picture that tells you 1,000 words going to lie to you. The light bulb idea, an orb of light that comes down to you like a portal and goes in a time where time stands still like preserves into the past and the future that Christ knew. And I also know because I was adapted into this for a massive transformation movement in my own DNA. And I was naturally selected like this from the day I was born with some of these abilities. I went through a massive process in my life and then through a massive transformation in DNA studies done. They studied me for 34 years and 16 years with DNA. In 2008, they found the cure of the human conditioning, right, in a handful of people that can master their mind and use their biological genes with the natural selection of life and natural order, okay, where they can genetically repair their own genes and preserve DNA as self-preservation made for life, okay? And that's by natural selection and a natural order. So you go through life and learn a lot of things about life, but I am number 1 on the biggest mastermind reports that can master my mind and do 7 things no one else in the world can by the top scholars in the whole world in a 34-year study. So I bring the cure of the human condition in humanity and also develop the drug in every testing centre across Australia, right, in the Star Chamber inquiry. My product was found in every test in Australia and arrested with 105 people that made that product that brought down the highest death time in hectocalin bonds and misbonds in 30 years. My arresting officer commends me, as does many other police officers, and retired the police force. And of course, the Royal Commission paying up for 23 years. The stolen back generation of poverty being paid $250 billion a day. The biggest malab research ever conducted in global history and DNA studies. The Book of Life. The cure of the human condition is going to save humanity. So, I can promise you, as primordial being number 1 worldwide, I have the most authentic DNA in the world and the most powerful tools to resurrect humanity back in their primordial state, to cross over through the rebirth. So you can do what Christ can and more because I'm solid evidence. I can do everything Christ can in the most powerful documents and studies ever done. But I'm not the only one. Now, the Holy Grail of life It's a book Freedom by Jeremy Gibbs that explains every single thing in every rabbit hole to stick your head through the lighting tunnel, take the red pill and cross over, and go right back into your innocent, to think instinctively and think outside the mind so you can do what I can and more, because the mind does not understand this. The mind has no comprehension here and is extremely limited. That's why the movie's called Limitless when he takes a drug and he gets out of his shell and uses 100% of his brain with a vortex of information with the universal language, where he sits down, writes a book overnight that's brilliant, goes down to Wall Street, makes millions of dollars overnight, and turns the eyelids of the highest entrepreneurs. Just think about it. I know it's a movie, but it's also a genuine perception, okay, with propaganda. We developed the drug in the underground world and saw the adverse effects. And oh boy, when you see people going into their genetic process with genetic memory, what they can do. Imagine someone levitating 1 ton stone and picking up a car. This drug made laboratorily correct with a barcode system goes right in your progenitor genes and opens up you like a can of worms and a multiple perception. I put up a CIA document release, right, about a year and a half ago in my timelines about methamphetamine being the most powerful enlightenment drug and how the military still use it today. Think about the movie George Clooney that's staring at goats. He's staring at a goat and stop its heart. Now, in that movie, it represents he loses his power because when you use your power for any alternative reasons, your own moral guilt and shame would hit you like a ton of bricks. Have you heard the expression Americans say that if you create the second degree with the third eye, it's very dangerous? Well, it can be dangerous like this if you use it for alternative reasons, but only against yourself, in the sense that you'll lose your power. When you use it for the right reason, and the more you trust it, the more you go through natural selection, and the more power you get. And many people don't know this. Well, that's why Jeremy Gibbs says it might take decades to go back in a moral state. It took Moses 45 years to learn how to command nature, divine power to command nature. It took Elijah and Enoch and several other people in history 40 years to master their mind and to have the divine power to command nature. Christ learned in 17 years, okay, but he learned something critical, how to master the mind, the gut feeling, survival mode, the chakra, the very preservation mode for life, Jacob's ladder, the shiver in your spine, the Neuralink, the tree of life, Jacob's ladder, and the third eye with the sacred secretion with the sixth sense. So he mastered his mind with the Shulam masterminds. He learned reincarnation and life after life. Then he went to the 40-day fast and faced the demon within his own skull and broke free and got out of the shell, like you see in the movie Limitless. But to do this organically and permanently is a whole different adverse effect than a drug. That's why we know how to do this organically for the first time in human history, to cure the human condition and every single thing you suffer from. Imagine no more pain, stress, and fear in a time where time is still like preserves. No more suffering, no more death experience, and gain a new dimension with sevenfold wisdom and knowledge, a new era with 10 times more fruit and 10 times more nutrition value and 10 times more everything. Your placebo effect is 10 times more powerful than anything in your reality. Are you aware of that? No, you're not. So you don't know what you project neither, because in the opposite effect, it's also 10 times more dangerous. And if you don't know that, that's what causes the atmosphere to collapse worldwide and people's aura spreading like a virus. Why animals are going around circles over the earth like the days of Noah. Why faunas collapse between 38 and 98% nutrition value. Why every human being on earth, their biological system and their alphabeta bacteria is collapsed between 50 and 100% in their biofields, are all collapsed. As they gain a 6 mass extinction strip in the 6th sense for the 6th time. And mental disorders and defects are going through the roof, with divine syndromes worldwide where people lost their magnetic pulse. That's why animals go around circles and faunas collapsing with their nutritional value. And that's because of the mindset we're in, with the placebo effect that we're spreading like a virus, because the oldest civilization in the world we found, the largest human beings on earth, the most loving, compassionate creatures, 500 years old, off the grid, 257 with birds again. They create the most powerful fauna in the world and has that kind of relationship, and they have 10 times more fruit with 10 times more nutrient value, and they bear the right fruit, and their aura is so powerful. When you go near them, you're gobsmacked and speechless because you feel their aura with love pouring all over you with a relationship. so powerful that they can replenish fauna. So we now know today that our mentality in the whole world, in 98.7% with voltage reliability, anti-clockwise in their DNA body, in their DNA in their cells, because they're in corruption collusion during the daytime and only work 1 to 5%, and they can only repair up to 95% to 100% 3 to 4 hours a night. But some can do it 24 hours a day because they don't live in their mind. They live in their primordial state. They crossed over into their spirituality so they can control their vessel and their mentality and their personality. And that's what it's all about, the crossover. For personal development, this is the most powerful personal development worldwide. We're not breathing techniques. In DNA studies done, the most powerful meditation in the world, tested with every other meditation, that recreates a sacred secretion, restores your biological clock in the central nervous system with the holy breath of life. Cold showers and ice cold showers will give you a massive inflection point through fight flight mode, okay, and takes away the fear factor. Massive benefits in cold showers or ice baths. But I'm going to give you a powerful recommendation here for every human being on earth, so you've got no excuse. Okay? Do a 40-day fast and mind your own business and get off screens and stop eating. Take zinc, iron, magnesium. And today, I want to tell you something very, very, very powerful. You create the endorphin effects. You create DMT, MDMA, meth effect, okay, opiate effects. You get high as a kite with ecstasy feeling. And you adapt into this over a period of time in a transformation. So you have this kind of power consistently. And that kind of relationship with a codependent power, a universal free energy and free power that Tesla knew a little bit about, but in our own biological system. Imagine having the power to do what Christ can and more, okay, with divine power to command nature in a genetic process with genetic memory and unlocking it, because it's all in your DNA. Okay, we're trapped with amnesia in here without realizing it. And most people are beyond the point of return and don't care because they can't feel the truth anymore. They come to every single conclusion with voice of mind that's ultimate sign for extinction declared worldwide. By Jeremy Givers, 45,000 teachers has been declared we listen to the wrong voice of mind and in the wrong mentality, and our books and book smarts is all inverted with opinions. It means the whole world's wrong. It means every top science professor in the world, right, it's limited with 7 and can only use 15% of their brain. Which means no matter what comes out of their mouth, the top scholars and the top IQ people in the world, it's limited when they can only use 15% of their brain, when we can use 100%. It makes them completely unqualified no matter what these atheist people say with the illusion of evolution mutation, right, and the artificial intelligence, because they're limited and they live in complete brain-locked denial in here. But they don't have mental telepathy, ESP, remote urine, telekinesis, levitation, spoon meeting, clock minding, and they can't predict the future, prevent what's going to happen. They cannot do what Christ can and more near in their biological genes with DNA, and DNA is a book of life. So they can say what they like. Their genetic memory doesn't fucking work. And they can't put their clockwise in their aura 24 hours a day because they have defective genes and mental disorders worldwide and live in denial. So the whole world's full of BS. As Winoff says, who's won a Nobel Prize. The world's full of BS. The whole world's full of BS. As Jeremy McGiffin says, every American is full of BS. All into themselves and their opinions. Distracting the most powerful confirmation on earth. Everybody is. Artificial human beings in post-human states and can't think straight and don't care neither. This is the most powerful confirmation on earth. We teach the genuine resurrection and crossover with the most powerful conclusion and solution in the world. We cure every single thing you suffer from. Every single thing, more than anyone else. Naturally and organically. When you go into deep breathing oxygen and oxidize your blood, right, you're so destroyed today. That's why I'm telling you, make sure you take zinc, iron, magnesium. Okay? Drink lots of liquid. For 40 days, you stop unnatural selection, going to natural selection. This is critical to you. You know, we found the most powerful truth serum, right, through methamphetamine, Made laboratorily correct. Okay, laboratorily correct. Okay, from a plant called mayim. The most powerful enlightenment drug, the most powerful tree of life that recreates the sacred secretion, naturally and organically. We're not breathing oxidizes your blood and recreates the sacred secretion. But let me explain something to you critically. Methylene blue. Methylene blue. METHYLENE blue. This pure product, lab grade, right, is highly recommended by a lot of top physicians, even Dr. Brian Addis. Some of the top people in the world. Okay, some of the top people in the world. This has been suppressed from us, and the fear factor. You get a large glass of water and you put 5 drops of this in a day. 5 drops. Right? That gives you a meth-DMA effect. MDMA. Ecstasy, right, in your aura, and it will restore your genes. It restores cells and brain fog. It repairs genes, puts more oxygen in the white cells, and when you oxidize your blood with we're not breathing, and you go deep into this, mate, you will have the most powerful euphoria effect. This has been one of the most powerful tools ever developed. And let me tell you something, when we talk about UAPs, you know, UAPs came to me and created the most powerful confirmation on earth. You should watch my video from this morning. Okay, the prophetic warning. And really listen carefully. UAPs have been involved in bringing this blue liquid here as well, over 150 years ago. But I'll tell you something that's strange. It was no more than 2 years ago I put a video up about the Nordic father Jabbeth, who came in a UFO, okay, landed, okay, Jabbeth, white, long white hair, shining blue eyes, okay, everything was blue, okay, think about that for a moment, okay, the militaries went to see him and was invited into the aircraft, okay, into the UFO, and these people, whoever they are, where they come from, think about the gods coming back. Think about a lot of people coming back, like the watchers watching over us, no matter what you think. This is a UAP moment, right? And I'm just saying, it's funny how when you really study everything about methylene blue, and you realize what it does the same thing as meth. Mate, I'm using it and it changes your biological genes and your cells like you wouldn't believe. Okay? I like to try things myself. My body talks to me. I go by what I feel, not what I think. Remember, I warned you about that. Follow your feelings. And what you feel with this is unbelievable. It's magic. It's magic. And it's true. You're told to take this for 10 days before you really feel the effect. My God, you'll feel it in 3-4 days. I'm telling you. When you do when I breathe in with this stuff, holy crap. You know, I don't like to be premature about things, but I've been bleeding from my lungs, right, and my throat for 2 months. But my lungs are open right up more than ever than it has done for months. My bleeding's nearly stopped, dead. Over the last few days, I've been getting more energy than ever, than in a long time, which I find astonishing myself. But, you know, I'm not the only one. Not the only one. There are a lot of people trying this and getting the same adverse effect. And it's funny because this UFO gave this guy a glass of this liquid, this blue liquid, and said, listen, this will restore you and make you feel so much better, and we'll know where you are. Interesting. They know where you are anyway. Trust me, I know that. I know that anyway, right? But I'll tell you something, guys. For personal development, do We're Not Breathing. Read the book Freedom on audio. Listen to it on audio. Read it. Take every single opportunity you can. This is the most powerful confirmation by 16,000 top scholars in the world. And some of these top scholars that we're talking about are all recommending methylene blue daily, right? In a large glass of water, and it will change you. And some people even say this destroys the tumors for cancer and replenishes the cells. Brain fog opens up your mind, like the movie Limiters, like MDMA, like the meth effect. Yes, guys, I can confirm it does exactly do that. Not the same punch, but that's okay. It's better off in the light of moderation, right? It can be toxic poisoning if you take too much, and there are warnings about that. But let me tell you something. It's also told that the warnings has also been deceiving us, right? So we don't take it. And that's what's coming out worldwide by top whistleblowers and some of the top physicians and top doctors in the world that's exposing everything. Now, I've had a trial on this. Wow. You know, I didn't want to make a video just now about this, and I didn't think I would. But how much I've got out of this already blows my mind away, to be honest. And, you know, nothing ever ceases to amaze me. The most powerful personal development you can ever do is fasten for 40 days, stop unnatural selection, get off screens, take zinc iron magnesium, take some of this. Do We're Not Breathing intensely. And I promise you, within 40 days, if you do this and listen to Steve Bill on his testimony I put up yesterday, listen to the people that's gone through this. They break into tears and get the most powerful confirmation, and they stop stressing already. They already stop being full of anxiety and stress just by crossing over, and that's the most powerful inflection point where you'll never go back. And then you go through a transformation and you continue to do We're Not Breathing, and you go into a natural selection and natural order. Trust me, I know. You'll never eat the wrong products again. You'll never make the wrong decision again, because you go through a massive transformation and you listen to the voices, right, in your mind and realize they're only personality. And then you think outside the mind and it comes to you through your feelings. The light bulb here, the picture that tells you that was come from out of the blue, and it will come to you. And trust me, you're totally innocent again, like a child. And you revise your perception about everything in your life when you go through this 40-day fast and you listen to the book Freedom by Jimmy Gibbons on audio and do Win Up every day and isolate yourself and get off screens and mind your own business and keep to yourself. Don't get to any competitive behavior or anything with anyone. Just isolate yourself as much as you can. Do Win Up every day. Take this, and I promise you, you will get the most powerful ecstasy feeling, and you will adapt into it. And that is the quantum mechanic of a relationship and a universe power. The drugs is only a mind manipulation drugs that activates you and tune into codependent power in your EMP pulses. The drugs are only MR technology manipulation. They only manipulate your mind with your own sacred secretion that goes into your body genes with EMP pulses that makes you feel the truth with 27 biofields, and that's divine power. That's divine light. That's the Holy Spirit. That's the divine power to command nature. And everything starts to come to you and go through a massive transformation in DNA, the book of life, a genetic memory process and genetic ancestors that starts to come back to you out of the blue, and a slow process of absolutely waking up from amnesia and the reincarnation trap and starting to get all your memories back, and the most powerful clarification you've ever had in history. And as you go through this, you get higher and higher and higher, high as a kite, and you adapt right into this most powerful feeling where your aura becomes your shining armor. Your aura becomes your shining armor and the God-given power to command nature so that no weapon formed against you can prosper. Those who think instinctively will tune out of the program and never suffer any ever again. Never ever suffer ever again. The cure of every single thing you suffer is the cure of the human condition that's going to save humanity. We all die prematurely from stress-related diseases, and every single thing we suffer and die from. All stress-related. Our body cells and corruption during the daytime can only be at night time. We need to cross over and think outside the mind, outside the consciousness. The conscious not aware. You only use your mind 1 to 5% to work things out with. When you go for a 40-day test, as Steve Bill says in his testimony, you leave your consciousness. You go to the light internal in your spirituality and away from your mentality. Consciousness only a middle bit and a middle person illusion imagination, and you get taken right out of your consciousness, right into the light internal and the most powerful clarification and the most powerful divine intervention, and then you feel real love and what it's all about. And it's available to everyone. It's a relationship, guys. It's a quantum mechanics of relationship. It's righteousness. Believe it or not, that's where peace and harmony is at its best. And that's where you get the authority and be given the authority, right, step by step through a transformation. A genetic transformation that comes from out of the blue with genetic memory. Patience is a virtue. Never believe nothing you hear, only half of what you see, but trust everything you feel. And when you use honesty as the best policy and you're down to earth, you create a reputation by word of mouth, by being innocent, like a father who would sacrifice himself for every child to save every child. You only live by a relationship. Don't cause no one to stumble. Walk with the enemy, work with the enemy, love thy enemy, help the sinners, help the sufferers. Live by the one you equally, how to come alive equally, and learn how to love one another and bitterness, burdens, and flesh. That was the most powerful commandments that Christ gave us on his death, right, at his last meal. And believe me, when you live by that, your body cells does exactly the same thing. They work together, right, with the same tools. They live equally and love one another and bitterness, burdens in your body cells and repair yourself 24 hours a day when you live by it. Go back into your primal state in your innocence with a relationship, okay, and a universal compassionate feeling. The mother and the father is the two candlesticks, the two objects, the two witnesses. It starts with a man and woman. It's going to finish with a man and woman because it's the two pillars of soul with a soul-mate relationship. Soul-mate is divine power. And believe me, when you get adapted into that in the Most High, it's absolute pure divine love, unconditional love. And that's what you're feeling, man. Loyalty, honor, respect, moments, inspiration, encouragement at a maximum capacity. When you live by it, you feel it, you live it, and that's the tree of life, guys. And that's how stupid we are today. That's how dumb our minds are. I was a mastermind in the underground world. Okay, I was a lot of things in this world. Okay, one of the most powerful masterminds ever developed in history. Think about this. By the time I was 51 years old in 2012, I died clinically dead and went through a transformation. The first thing I learned was how stupid I was. So even though I was the biggest mastermind and many things, I still realized I was dumb and stupid. And I still feel that way. And that's the best place to be, no matter what. Because it's thinking outside the mind. As a whole different type of thing. And the mind doesn't understand. It's breaking free from the mind because the mind oppresses you. You are your own worst enemy, right, in here. And your mind plays sticks and game in you. You become your own prison, your own warden. And that's where you suffer, in there. It's only personalities. When you think outside the mind, oh boy, that's where the magic is. So when I've explained that at Oxford University, right, with Oxford teachers, right, new pupils coming through, the top Oxford University students, Christ, and only a few people knew, as Plato describes in 15 books, as Jeremy describes after doing a 45-year study with Plato and the human conditioning and DNA studies, and found the last human being on earth that can do every single thing that Christ can and more in DNA, the book of life, declared worldwide. held by 16,000 top scholars. Guys, to get that methapec going and your sacred secretion, I've always said to you, okay, the most organic drug comes from a plant called mayim. This is available right now, methylene blue. And I highly recommend it, guys, because believe me, it will change your life, change your cells, take you out of brain fog, and wow, what an experience, guy. What an experience. And I know this has a lot to do with UAPs, and people giving this to people from UAPs. So, believe me, I trust this because I can feel the truth, and so can you. So I highly recommend this for personal development, and go into the book Freedom, We're Not Breathing, and dedicate yourself, because believe me, I don't want you to miss out on this. This is the greatest time to be alive. This is the absolute greatest time to be alive. When you cross over, holy crap. And I do mean holy crap. Wow. The most powerful love, the most powerful experience, the most powerful clarification and confirmation you'll ever get. Cross over and feel the truth. And I'll take you to the light in the tunnel and you can see it with that confirmation. Trust me, we cured the human condition to save humanity. We crossed people over with the great resurrection, the rebirth. And mate, it's the best time to be alive. Best time to be alive.